You are about to listen to another episode of That Sports Guys podcast, hosted by Craig Forrestall. Find Craig on Twitter at that_sports_guy. The That Sports Guys podcast is proudly featured by NFL Draft Diamonds, your draft coverage king. So sit back, relax, and enjoy some football talk.
Hello and welcome to another episode of That Sports Guys podcast. I am Craig Forrestall. You may know me from Twitter as at that_sports_guy. But today it is all about the Illinois State Redbirds and their quarterback, Brady Davis. Brady, how you doing today?
I'm doing good, Craig. I appreciate you having me on, man.
Hey, anytime. And I just got to know a little bit about where it is that you come from, because I've never been to Mississippi, more or less Columbus, Mississippi. What was it like growing up there?
It's unique. It's a town where it's kind of a town that's probably, poorer than most in a lot of regards and kind of has some struggle and, business is shut down and whatnot. But it's a town that breeds a lot of athletes. And I think just kind of growing up in Columbus, you play sports all day, you play sports on the weekend. And that's just kind of what everybody does growing up there. And that's what I obviously did, playing baseball, football, and basketball since I was a kid. And then, moving on to just more football, obviously, growing up. But, it was something that I just felt like that's my life revolved around sports, and most people's did at that town in North Mississippi.
And now you talked about a bunch of athletes being from that town, and I want to ask you about a couple of different high school games that you played in. You were high school teammates with A.J. Brown, now on the Titans, and Willie Gay, now on the Chiefs. But you had a chance to play against Brandon High School, who at the time had Gardner Minshew at quarterback. Do you remember that game? And can you just talk about playing with Willie and AJ and that game against Gardner?
Yeah, the game against Gardner, I had actually my mom moved from Columbus, Mississippi to Starkville, Mississippi, and I moved with her. And that game was actually the spring game. It was a spring game in Mississippi. We have like 20 spring practices, and you're allowed to play a game. So we played at Mississippi State at Davis Way Stadium, and it was a spring game versus Gardner. And I think there was college scouts were allowed to be there. And you talk about Willie and AJ and myself and Gardner, and he had several other teammates that were highly coveted recruits and whatnot as well. So there was probably 30, 40 colleges represented there watching. And I do remember that game. They were pretty good. They've traditionally been pretty good, and so at Starkville. But I'm not quite sure on the score. I don't know if you saw it, but I'm pretty sure we whooped up on them pretty good, like we did most everybody.
Yeah, that was pretty much the general consensus. I want to say it was 35-13 if memory serves me correct, but that wasn't the only game that featured some NFL talent. You played against Cam Akers as well, and before the world knew him as a running back, you knew him as a quarterback.
Yeah, a real good one too. A real good quarterback. Not just running the quarterback, power every down, a wildcat. He was throwing post and phase and back. He was throwing bombs. He was throwing darts, and that was a fun game. We I've kept up with him throughout the years, and we always go back to that game because it was just shot after shot, blow after blow, and our defense had given up maybe it might have been 0 points through the first 3 or 4 district games at that point. I know for a while there was a streak where they had 3 or 4 shutouts in a row, and then I believe that score was 50-something to 40-something, and that's the game I'll always remember because just so many good players on the field and so many big plays were made, and it was all offense, and Cam was doing his thing, and A.J. Brown and Ralph Leonard for me, and we were making big plays and going back and forth, and I think it was for the district championship as well.
And I want to ask you, because we talk about the high level that you played at in high school and how you dominated the high levels of Mississippi high school football, but then you fell a little bit under the recruiting radar. How did you handle that as a junior, senior in high school?
Yeah, it was definitely interesting. I will say I wasn't one to go to all these camps and combines and whatnot. I kind of would spend my weekends doing other things, whether it was with family or just, rather than, I don't know. I would go to, some colleges camps. I went to an Alabama camp, and I would do that when I would get invited. But I never really I probably could have done more looking back on it to get myself recruited. But I just wanted my play to do it, my film to do it. And I think that got me the opportunities it got me, and it got me where I'm at. But I definitely felt like I was under the radar and still feel like, I'm a top tier quarterback and that I can do as much as guys playing at these big schools. But it is what it is, and I think it's hard to judge a 17-year-old kid, and you don't know what they'll turn into.
And you initially started off at Memphis. And when you were at Memphis, you played with a lot of guys that have been on NFL rosters, including Paxton Lynch, Jake Elliott, Jannard Avery, Tony Pollard, Anthony Miller, Darrell Henderson, and the list goes on. How did being around such talent at Memphis help you grow as a player?
Yeah, I think that it was competitive every day, and I obviously had Paxton. Paxton was there my true freshman year, and got close with him and was able to kind of see how he did things and learn him. And then Riley Ferguson came in, and he was as good, if not better, as a quarterback from Memphis as Paxton was, and it was a lot. Watching him and Anthony Miller do their thing, they were. It was fun watching them and learning. And those are my brothers, man. Tony Pollard was my roommate. Jannard Avery's from Mississippi, Darrell Henderson's from Mississippi. So yeah, I really love watching those guys on Sundays, and then hope to get there with them here next year. But it was definitely a very competitive situation. And Memphis, the difference in Memphis, man, is those guys work so hard. I learned how to grind from Anthony Miller, from Jannard Avery, from all those guys, and kind of instilled that here at Illinois State, and kind of try to lead by example in that way. And man, it's just a grind there, and you can ask anybody that's played there. People go to work and everything they do, and that's why they've been so successful in the last several years.
And now we talk about all that talent and the grind that goes into the preparation. Were there some weeks at Memphis where the practices were more competitive than the actual game?
Yeah, I mean, the practices were competitive. The summer, speed competition, speed drill racing was competitive. Everything was competitive there, and that's just the nature of those guys. Both coaches, Coach Fuente and Norvell, did a great job recruiting people that love the game and love putting put what's necessary to go into it, to be successful into it. And that's what I learned there, and something I'll forever be grateful. Whether I played or not at Memphis, I learned that from some guys that are still doing it at the highest level, and I'll always cherish those friendships.
And I want to ask you about when you transferred to Illinois State, because there was some big-time talent in place when you arrived. Romeo McKnight was on roster now at the University of Charlotte. Drew Himmelman was there. And then Luther Kirk, who was in camp with the Cowboys, and James Robinson, who everyone knows is doing his thing with the Jaguars. Were you surprised by the level of talent on the ISU roster when you arrived?
FCS wasn't something that was real big in the South, I would say. I mean, you got your SWAC programs and there is the schools, but JUCO is a bigger thing. If kind of growing up, it was SEC D1 or JUCO. It's just kind of how I grew up knowing it. I think it's different where I'm at now in the Midwest. There's so many good programs, especially in the conference we play in. So when I got to school and I saw the talent we had, I was like, okay, wow, this isn't much of a difference. It's a little different style. I think it's more of a power scheme, and we got, I don't know, it's a little different when you look at Memphis's conference. You got a lot of speed and spread offenses, and here it's a little different where you got running backs like James Robinson and left tackles like Drew Himmelman that are all every bit of 6'10", 350, probably 20, 30 pounds. But it didn't take me long, and then I got to the season. I started going against them Valley defenses every week, and it's not a big difference at all. That's for sure, especially in our conference. I think the Missouri Valley Conference is as good as, if not better than, several FBS conferences, and I'll always say that for sure. So it caught me a little bit by surprise, but it's definitely top tier, and I know that every week, no matter what. I mean, you got some of these teams in our conference that will have, losing records, but them defenses are top notch, and then you got to be ready to go every week.
And I brought up the name James Robinson in the last question, and I want to stick there. And how do you think his success so far in Jacksonville will help the Illinois State program with NFL scouts coming through the doors?
Yeah, I mean, I think when you got a guy that comes from a school and is able to step in and play right away, I think James, he obviously didn't skip a beat, and he was able to pick up on the system and be ready to play as a rookie, in a year where things have been really, uncertain, and he hasn't gotten the normal rookie year that a lot of guys have in terms of, practice reps and preparation leading into a season. So I think that says a lot, because the system we run here offensively, translates to that league well. And I think, the little I've talked to James, he didn't really have much of a problem picking up the playbook, and that's big for, obviously a quarterback or offensive player and going to that next level. And then, yeah, just I think this school has already had was a big market for scouts, and we have a lot coming through. But to have one of our guys that they've been looking at the last couple of years be producing so well so quickly, I think it helps a lot. And you named off a few more players that are here still, and there's young guys that'll be names be mentioned here in the years to come. So I don't think that's going to change at all. And hopefully we can, me, myself, and other guys can continue to build this program up in the next level.
And I want to ask you about your time with the Manning Passing Academy. You were selected by Archie, Peyton, and Eli to attend their passing academy. You worked with some middle school quarterbacks. How did you find out that you were selected to participate in this event, and just what was that overall experience like?
This is actually a story in itself. I think there's a write-up about it, maybe from the local paper, but so I knew the quarterback country guys. It's a quarterback training site kind of based all over in the South. It's based in Mobile, but they got guys all over. David Morris runs it, and I've worked out with those guys all the time. And I went over an off-season workout. I kind of mentioned, and they said, "Yeah, we'll mention your name." They always ask us some guys around the country, so I knew I had a chance at it or whatever. So anyway, I'm looking at my voicemails, and I got a lot of spam calls at this time from Mississippi, Louisiana, a bunch of southern states, so I would ignore a lot of them. So I'm cleaning out some voicemails, and I'm just listening to them, make sure it's not important. And there was like 3 of them from Archie Manning. I'd missed 3 calls from Archie Manning, so I just felt I was mortified, man. I couldn't sleep that night. It was late when I noticed it too, so I wasn't gonna call him at 10 o'clock at night. So I was so embarrassed and felt so terrible, but he was so awesome about it. He thought it was funny, and he played at Ole Miss, a Mississippi guy, so he thought it was no big deal, and he invited me, and that was a great experience. Those him and his kids, his sons, and just that whole family and that whole system that runs that camp was awesome and top notch. And I had the best weekend that I've had doing something like that for sure, and that's something that I'll always remember.
And Brady, I just want to ask, how are you feeling coming off of the knee injury from last season?
Oh yeah, the knee injury. At this point, I couldn't even tell you how long it's been since I had the surgery. I think it's been 9, maybe 10 months, but I've been good to go for 4 or 5. It feels like. I wish we were playing right now. I've said that a lot. I wish. I don't understand why we're playing in the spring while everybody else is, but I was kind of thinking initially, that'll give my knee more time to heal. But my knee feels great. I haven't skipped a beat, and I think the doctor here does a fantastic job. We've had a lot of guys come back from injuries, and I just worked really hard during the pandemic, during the lockdown and everything, and I feel full speed 100%, and I don't even think about it most days.
And now, where are you and the team with your preparation for the spring season? Have you started, workouts? Are you in I guess the spring ball would now be the fall ball?
Yeah, that's what we're doing now. So we were working out all summer, and we got 2 or maybe 3 practices in preparation for the fall season, and then things shut down for 2 or 3 weeks. Then we got back to working out for a week or 2, and then we're gonna get in 15 practices over the next couple of weeks. We've already got 6 or 7 in, so we're about halfway through. Yeah, what I still call it spring ball on accident, but it is fall ball this year, which is weird. I'm doing spring ball practice during fall and playing a lot of golf during fall. It's a weird year for me for sure, man.
And now, what are you hoping to show NFL teams with these upcoming games? Do you have anything in mind that you're really trying to showcase?
I mean, yeah, I think I've definitely heard, a few things that I need to work on, from scouts and whatnot that they would like to see out of me. I need to obviously first and foremost show that I'm healthy and show that knee's not bothering me, and that I'm back to the same player that I was, athletically and, moving around as I was the year before. And I've kind of already checked that one off the box. I feel good about that. So I just got to come out, and I need to kind of clean up some decision-making errors I had from a year ago, and kind of take what the defense gives me a little better, and maybe not be so, quick to throw the deep ball and just find my check down and move the chains a little better. I think that's something that I definitely could have been better at last year and helped our team be a little better. And it's something that I think they want to see out of me, kind of get out of that gunslinger mode and make those big plays when they present themselves, but also don't be so shy to check the ball down and move the chains.
And now, Brady, you've been great with the football-based questions. Are you ready to go away from the field and give the people a chance to get to know you off the field?
Yeah, I can give it my best shot for sure.
All right, let's do it. So the first question I'll ask you is, if you could pick any superhero power, what would you pick and why?
Okay, so I've had this one before. I always thought I think it would be beneficial to be able to be invisible. So I think I would go with that one, be able to be invisible, be amongst some people, and they have no clue I'm amongst them or whatever I need to be invisible for. I think being invisible could take you a long way.
If I gave you $100,000 to start your own business, what business would you start?
I think I would go with some type of training facility geared towards quarterbacks kind of specifically, but that's something I've always wanted to do and hope that, I definitely want to play for a little while and then maybe do the coaching scene for a while. But I definitely, when I get older, I want to be able to have a gym and train quarterbacks and athletes from all over, as far as weight training and strength and conditioning, as well as, quarterback specific stuff and other positions as well. So I think that would be a perfect opportunity for that if you were to give me 100,000.
Now, I'm going to share a fairly embarrassing story on my end, and it's because I do not have a romantic bone in my body, but I'll share mine first. The question is, how did you propose to your wife? And for me, my wife was actually looking for the engagement ring and I had it hidden in the house, and I felt like I was running out of time. So I actually proposed to my wife one day while she was making lunch in the kitchen. It was actually the 4th of July. So yeah, that's how I proposed to my wife. I proposed to her while she was making lunch on the 4th of July. Hopefully yours is better than that.
Brady. I mean, it really isn't by much. I'm not going to lie. What I did, we have a dog. It's not ours anymore, but we had a dog at the time. And I just had him out front. She was probably wondering why he was out front. Said he had a little sign on his collar said, "Go inside. Brady's got a question for you." And I laid it on her there. And then I had her family and my family kind of on standby to get together. And we hung out that night and, did our thing. And I think the national championship game was on, if I remember correctly. And my wife is an Alabama graduate. So I'm pretty sure they won the national championship that night. We all got together and watched it with our family. But I don't have a romantic bone in my body either, unfortunately.
What is something most people would be surprised to hear about you? A hidden talent, a funny or embarrassing moment, anything?
That's a good one. What is one thing most people... I really don't know. I think people think it's pretty cool when they find out I got two huskies, like half Siberian husky, half Malamute. So I got like kind of extra large fluffy huskies running around in my backyard. I just stepped outside and they're running up to me right now.
And Brady, the last question we got lined up for you tonight. What is that one junk food or that one candy that you cannot give up or live without?
The purple bag. I don't know exactly what they're called, but the purple bag Doritos is something that I eat too much. Probably it tears my mouth up. They're too spicy. They're hot, but it's one of those things that no matter my tongue might regret it, but I'm just gonna eat a bag almost every day. It seems like, and that's what one comes to my mind.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is Illinois State quarterback Brady Davis. We just spent about 20 minutes getting to know Brady on and off the field, and he's looking forward to the next time he gets to hit the field with the Illinois State Redbirds. Until next time, everybody, that's Brady Davis. I'm Craig Forrestall. Stay safe and be easy.
Hey everybody, Craig Forrestall. Thanks for tuning in and listening to another episode of That Sports Guys podcast. Make sure to follow me on Twitter at @that_sports_guy to catch all the latest updates and podcast episodes. Until next time, stay safe and be easy.